Good morning, everybody. My name is Terry. I'm one of the pastors here. If it's your first time here on the floor and the balcony, or maybe you're joining us live at home, we're excited that you are with us today and a part of our church as we wrap up this series called Keep the Change. And we're going to be covering our last principle of 4 that I'm going to go over in just a second. But before I do, this week around our country and around a lot of other places is Halloween. And yes, I said Halloween in church. Don't freak out. Don't panic. I promise. And the reason why I bring it up is because we know this. We know that there's a lot of families that wrestle in the tension of this day. There's a lot of us as Christians. There's a lot of opinions, depending on what church you go to, depending on what friends you have, this and that. You've had a lot of input with regards to this day. And what we thought we would do this week is we thought that we would release a video explaining the history of this day and giving knowledge and information to Christians so that way you can form a knowledgeable opinion about what your stance is as grandparents, as parents, as a family. Because isn't it true, we say this all the time, that many Christians have great biblical opinion, but unfortunately a lot of Christians don't have biblical knowledge to back it up. That's why here at our church, we always say this: don't take Pastor Terry's word for it. Don't take your friend's word for it. Don't take your former pastor's word for it, or your parents or your grandparents. At some point, you have to own your decisions and your faith. And when you make strong decisions or strong opinions about something, you need to at least be able to say, this is what we believe, and let me tell you why we believe it. All of us have to do that. So this week, we're going to release that video. You can scan the QR code. I think they have a QR code. You can scan that QR code, and it'll take you to our YouTube page. And then here's what I encourage you to do. Subscribe, and then turn on your notifications, because when this video drops, you'll be alerted. And I encourage you to watch it, because we're going to talk about the 3 aspects and the 3 approaches that Christians take. Many of us as Christians, we reject Halloween. Many Christians, we try to redeem Halloween. And then there is a large, and I would say a vast majority of Christians that retreat from the conversation altogether. And we're going to answer, should we reject it? Should we redeem it? Should we retreat? We're going to answer all those and give the history of this day, so that way, at least as a family, you can make an informed decision with regards to how you approach this day. Now, with that being said, that was my PSA for the day. Now, we're going to move into wrapping up our series called Keep the Change. Over the last 3 weeks, we've covered 3 different topics, and today's the 4th. The 3 topics we covered with regards to our finances, our resources, how should we approach them, are as follows. We have 4 principles, and these principles are: we need to learn to live, give, owe, and grow. Live. We talked about what it means to live a life that honors God from a stewardship standpoint. And we said that generosity is not an act, it's an attitude. If you read throughout Scripture, we as followers of Jesus are required to have a generous spirit. It's not an act, it's actually an attitude of heart. The second week, we learned what it means to give. We learned the difference between a tithe and an offering. We learned what was expected as an Old Testament, New Testament. Again, if you go to our YouTube page, you can pull up all these videos. And we learned to give out of good and not out of guilt. Last week, we talked about what it means to fall into debt and what it means to fall into a lifestyle of owing. And last week, we learned that money is a power tool, that when God blesses us with money, it's a resource. And if we handle it the correct way, if we don't fall too far in debt, or if we climb our way out of debt quickly, we can use God's resources to our advantage as a power tool. And today, I'm happy to say that we're going to move to the growing aspect. Because did you know that God has an expectation that when He blesses us with resources, that we are to take those resources and we are to invest them so that they can grow, that they can spread around, that they can impact in an amazing way. With that being said, I have to draw some tension. Okay, last week there was about 35 minutes where everybody hated me, and I know that. And then we said we're going to turn it around, and we did. And today, this is the only uncomfortable part. You ready? Okay, this is a little bit of tension we have to give. In 2025, did you know this? According to Bankrate, 4 out of 10 people in the United States have enough savings to cover a $500 to $1,000 expense. That means most Americans would fall into debt to cover an expected expense. Notice I said expected. How many of you own a vehicle? How many of you have driven that vehicle for more than 10 years and you never had to take it for an oil change to a mechanic and never had to change its tires? But isn't it true that if we were going to go back to week 1 and we look at our spending plans or our budget, we don't put in oil changes or mechanics or repairs in our budget, even though we just admitted that, no, it's an expected expense. And so today we're going to talk about how do we wisely grow our resources so that we don't get walloped, we don't get hit hard when it comes to expected and unexpected expenses. Now, we're going to build this, though, theologically, because you don't care what Pastor Terry has to say. You care biblically about the principles behind this. So we go to the writer of Proverbs. Most think it was Solomon who wrote most, if not all of them. And Solomon, if he wrote this one in Proverbs 21, which a lot do, he is talking specifically to the culture of the day. And in the culture of the day, seasons mattered, right? And so you had a growing season and then you had winter season. And in the growing season, that's when you had a lot of resources, that's when you had a lot of buying and selling. And if you were wise, you would practice this principle. Take a look with me. It says, the wise have wealth, surplus, luxury, but fools spend whatever they get. And the background to this is that we see Solomon talking about is that there are individuals that when they grow a crop and they sell it, then as soon as they get all the money, they spend all the money. They act as if there is not a dry season coming up. And they're not preparing for the time of season when they won't be able to have money coming in. And so in essence, they're being a fool because they know that winter or a dry season is coming, and they know they're not going to have resources, but they're still going to just say, the heck with it, we're going to spend whatever they get. And unfortunately, isn't it true that many of us, if we were honest with ourselves, or we have kids, or we have adults, friends, family members, who behave in the same manner? So we see a biblical principle that says, hey, there are going to be dry periods, and we need to be preparing for them. It's not a matter of we'll get to it. It's coming. We have to start and prepare for it now. So I'm going to give you 5 principles that are based on not only this principle, but other principles we're going to share with you, especially a story about a man by the name of Joseph, which we're going to get to in a second. And so these 5 principles, hopefully we remember, take pictures of the screens, or in your app, you have all the notes provided in the app for you so you can just watch the screen and listen. So here's the first principle. Number 1, we learned this a little last week. We have to learn to save for emergencies. And there are 3 principles to this. These 3 principles are as follows. A, set up an emergency fund of at least $1,000 to $1,500. At least $1,000 to $1,500. Then decide where you want to put it. Do you want to put it in savings account? Do you want to put it in a money market account? Yes, I know we're getting into the weeds, but this matters and no one ever talks about it. There are many of us that say, yeah, I've got savings. Well, where is it? And if you have it in a bank savings account, more than likely, you're not getting anything on it. And you might say, well, Terry, why are we talking about this? Because God has an expectation for all of us that we are wise with the resources that he blesses us with. And if all it takes is a 20-minute deep dive study into what are the options that I have to take the savings that I have so that I can earn more for it because that's what God expects of me, then we would quickly learn that a money market account or a CD might elicit a higher percentage of return if that's an option for me. And so the point of the matter is, as many of us in this room, we just set it and let it and forget it. And today might be the day that we say, you know what? I have to save. I have to make sure that I have it. And then I have to make sure that it's in the right place so that it can grow because God expects us to. And then the last one I love is don't touch it. And I say this because isn't it true that many of us, we don't follow this principle? Like if we have a checking account or if we have a savings account, or a money market account, what we do is that we go ahead and we go ahead and we set that up and we put it in, but then we just go ahead and we spend. And then when we spend and we spend and we spend and we look at our checking account, our checking account starts dropping, then we go, we got to refill the checking account. Let's go to the savings account, let's put money in the savings account. Did you know that that's not what a savings account is for? The savings account is not the slush fund for you to go ahead and anytime that you spend a lot and you spent more than you thought about, that's okay, we got more over here. No. Saving is something that is for the future. Saving is something that you want to let it grow to. It's for emergencies. And now it could be, and you'll see this in later in the principle, some of you don't like me already, but you're going to see there's other things to save for that you purposely plan out. But just having it there as a backup piggy bank in case you just like to go out to eat a lot is not a great strategy with regards to savings for emergencies. So step one, we have to put $1,000 to $1,500 away in an emergency fund, put it in savings, and let it grow. Because isn't it true that saving money is all about contentment in what you have today? It's being content with not having to spend everything so that you can save for future occurrences. Now, some of you are like, well, Terry, I try. I just don't have enough money to put anything in savings. Well, to you, I would say this. We need to recognize the difference between an earning problem and a spending problem. Because let me encourage you, there are some of you out there that you are trying to squeeze blood out of a turnip. Like you are living frugal. You are putting boundaries in place. You are doing everything that you can to make your spending plan or budget. And the only thing you're not looking at is, you know what, I've had the same job for the last 10 years. I've never asked for a raise, and I've never thought about finding a different job that I might be able to earn more money. The point is sometimes these principles push us to be wise. If God expects us to grow the resources and we're not having enough where we can grow resources, then maybe we also have an earning problem. And maybe that's your word for the day. Bottom line, and I wish Washington, D.C. knew this principle, spend less than you earn. Spend less than you earn. That's a bottom line principle. So number one, save. Establish a savings account, save for emergencies, and have it there for long-term use to be wise. Number two, if we've got that, we need to learn to save for retirement. And some of you are like, well, that's a long way away. No. Then you've missed the principle. Because saving for retirement should start when you're young. Because guess what? I just looked at it. I did a deep dive. My son, he worked for Publix, and he's been there for long enough where they have a 401k plan, and so they have the documents. So I just happened to look at the documents. And they even have a wonderful calculator there at his age and his earning to be able to say, how much money should he have to put away so that way when he retires later on, he'll have enough to live on. I looked at it and said, man, I wish I was 18 again. Because if you started when you were 18 years old and you just put little pittance away, and you did that every single paycheck, and you did that all of your life, you wouldn't struggle for saving whatsoever because it would grow amazingly. We're going to look at that a little later on. But we've got to save for retirement. Proverbs 6:6-8 says this, take a lesson from the ants, you lazy bones. I love scripture. Learn from their ways and become wise. Though they have no prince or governor or ruler to make them work, they labor hard all summer, gathering food for the winter. Now, I told you that if we took this serious at 18, no, you know what? That's too early, Terry. Okay, fine. 28. No, that's still too early, Terry. Okay, great, fine. Do you know if you were a 30-year-old married couple? And I'm going to give you the scenario. And this Dave Ramsey gave this a long time ago. It's very famous. A lot of you have forgotten it. But if you were 30 years old and you made only $48,000 annually, okay? Some of you are like, Terry, have you lived through COVID? Yes, I know. $48,000 between the two of you, if that's all you had, and you saved $600 of that a month, and you had a 401k that averaged 12% growth. Let's say it's doing well. Do you know how much money you would have if you did that every month from 30 on? $48,000, that's it. Do you know how much money you would accumulate as a couple at age 70? Think about it, take a guess. You would have $7,058,863. Compounding interest is a wonderful thing. $7 million. And so some of us, when we think of, I just don't know what I'm going to get in retirement, I just don't know, we've got to learn the principle of it's coming. And the earlier we start, the easier it is to get there. So here are some principles. First, when we save for retirement, save 10 to 15% of your salary annually after paying off debt, and it includes employer contributions. So, in other words, if you can look at it and everything you've got going to your retirement equals anywhere from 10 to 15%. Now, well, Terry, is it 10? Is it 15? Well, I'll give you a rule of thumb. If you're young, you can shoot for 10 and be fine. If you're a little bit wiser in age, 15 might not even be enough. And so it depends on your age. It depends on where you're at. You can get these calculators and they'll give you an instance. You don't want to undershoot, if you know what I'm saying. You don't want to exaggerate. You want to make sure that you are comfortable. So save 10 to 15% of your salary. It includes any employer contribution. And by the way, be sure to match your employer retirement contribution because it's free money. One of the easiest ways to be able to get there is if your employer offers a matching principle, find out what it is, and then figure out how you can match that to take advantage of free money. Because that all goes into your 10 to 15%. And then last, if you can't get to 15%, then make that your next goal. So save for emergencies, save for retirement, take advantage of that retirement. Yesterday, I was doing a deep dive. It wasn't even matching up. I didn't even realize it. But I had to do the deep dive, and I had to look through the fine print to find out what the employer match was of my son's organization. So they don't make it easy for you. You've got to do the work. So save for emergency, save for retirement. Number 3, if you've done that, then save for goals. Well, Terry, what do you mean? And this is important. This is where we're going to dial down a little bit, okay? And this is the story of Joseph. Because in life, we're going to have goals. We're going to have purchases. We're going to have college. We're going to have things that we want to do, trips. And many times we're like, oh, I wish we could go there. I wish we could do this. I wish we had this. But we never sit and plan for it. And so let's take a look at a guy by the name of Joseph, because Joseph is going to interpret a dream of God to Pharaoh. And he's going to share this wisdom, and Pharaoh is going to take him up on it. And he's going to go ahead and say, okay, let's do it. So this comes from Genesis chapter 41, verse 28. It says this will happen just as I've described it. For God has revealed, there are 4 principles to this, watch it. God has revealed to Pharaoh in advance what he's about to do. The next 7 years will be a period of great prosperity throughout the land of Egypt. But afterward, there will be 7 years of famine, so great that all the prosperity will be forgotten in Egypt. Famine will destroy the land. This famine will be so severe that even the memory of the good years will be erased. As for the 2 similar dreams, it means that these events have been decreed by God, and he will soon make them happen. So we see those 4 principles going all the way through this. And what we see is number 1, first and foremost, is we see that this is not something that is possibly going to come, that God is allowing this to come. That, in other words, there will be seasons of trouble. How many of you have ever lived life and you've never had a dry season? If you're watching at home, nobody. And so if all of us know there are going to be dry seasons in our family, then we have to be wise to understand that in our life, biblically, God is going to allow certain seasons in our life that are going to challenge us, stretch us, and that are going to become uncomfortable. We have to be prepared for that. And so in order to do that, then watch the next thing he says, is there are going to be seasons of surplus. How many of you have ever gone through a season of surplus? Nobody. Great. If you're watching online, do you have any? Some of you have gone through surplus in this room. How many of you have ever gone through famine? Nobody wants to play my reindeer games today. I can see you people. Like I can see you. So we've gone through surplus. We've gone through famine. We've gone through both, which means that God is going to allow famine and he's going to allow surplus in our life. We can't live life thinking that either of those will not happen. But the last principle is probably my favorite. Did you notice what Joseph interprets? He says, because it was said twice, it was decreed by God. And I don't know about you, but you know what? I don't understand the things of God. They're a mystery to me. And too many of us have tried to figure God out when the reality is that we're not going to figure him out. When we get up to heaven, we will be revealed and we will see a whole lot more than we ever understand. And so I don't spend my time trying to figure out every tiny detail of God. I trust him. And what I trust is this, is that God is a mystery and God will allow certain difficult seasons and decree them. God will look at Terry and say, Terry, I want to get you to a place where I know that I want you to go. And so in order to do that, I'm going to allow you to go through these certain things and decree these in your life so that way you could be a part of bringing glory to me. So I know that in my life. So I'm preparing myself. God, it's not always going to be hunky-dory. If you're under the age of 30, turn to the person next to you that's a little older and ask them what hunky-dory means. They might not even know. So we have to save for certain goals. We have to be prepared. So here are some steps for saving for goals. First thing that we need to look at is, if we want to save for like college, cars, furniture, etc., number one, pray about your goals. Pray about them with a spouse if you're married. Pray about which are those goals. Then prioritize those goals together, because isn't it true that my goals and my spouse's goals might not be the same? I mean, a 70-inch TV outside would be amazing. But apparently, window treatments for the windows are more important. So pray about the goals, prioritize the goals. Then, here's where we drop it. Place a target for those goals. Place a target that is measurable. If you come to an agreement and say, for instance, if maybe you're retired and maybe you want to travel more and you said it over and over again, great, where do you want to go? What trip do you want to take? What kind of trip? When do you want to take it? Put it on the calendar, mark it, measure it, and say, all right, we got 9 months, we want to save to be able to go on this trip. Because isn't it true that many of us, we don't accomplish the things that we can accomplish because of apathy? We just sit there and another day comes and another day goes and we do the same routine and we don't put goals in place. Many of us wonder, how are we going to get our kids to college? And you're like, I ain't getting my kid to college. He's going to take care of himself. But wouldn't it be nice to set a goal to be able to help them in those times? So with that being said, let's continue in Joseph's story. Take a look with me. This is Genesis 41, 33 through 36. And we talk about measuring those goals. It's biblical. Because watch what happens in order for Joseph to accomplish this. It says, therefore, Pharaoh should find an intelligent and wise man and put him in charge of the entire land of Egypt. That was Joseph. Then Pharaoh should appoint supervisors over the land and let them collect 1/5 of all the crops during the 7 good years. Do you see how specific that is? Do you see how measurable that is? 1/5 we're going to put away for 7 years to be able to accomplish the goal. God has goals. Have them gather all the food produced in the good years that are just ahead and bring it to the Pharaoh's storehouses. Store it away and guard it so there will be food in the cities. That way, there will be enough to eat when the 7 years of famine come to the land of Egypt. Otherwise, this famine will destroy the land. So set goals and make sure they are measurable. If you're in business or if you're in management, you should know this principle. When you set expectations, if you don't set a goal or a measurement to those goals, you'll find up setting the same goals every year because you're not measuring them. So measure those goals. Number 4, once you do that, pursue them. And there are 3 principles to pursuing and going after your goals. There's accountability, there's automation, and there's action. Okay, let me explain. Accountability is this. All right, we're in this together. Accountability is, hey, I've set this goal and I want you to help me to accomplish it. Do you know this? I have a friend who he has struggled with his weight all of his life. And he has a lot of friends, including myself, and we encourage him because we're worried about his health. And so about 8 months ago, many of us came to him and said, hey, you got to get back on it, buddy. We're worried about you. We're worried about your health. Your doctor's report wasn't good. You're telling you need to get a little bit more healthy with your eating styles and everything else. You need to get on it. And so then guess what we did? We said to him, fine. What is it that you always want to do? What's something that you want to do? And he and his wife said, we want to go and we want to chase the northern lights. We want to go and we want to go to Norway. We want to go to Iceland. We would love to go on that trip. Great. Tell you what, we're going to set a goal for you. In 7 months, if you keep your weight under a certain amount, then you need to go on that trip to celebrate. And so do you know what it did for him? He is a goal-oriented creature. He said, challenge accepted. And do you know what? I was texting him yesterday and I was looking at his location because he shares his location with me. And do you know where he was? Norway. And he said, this is my celebration trip for accomplishing my goal for 7 months. And I told him how proud I was of him. And the reason why is he needed accountability. And then what he did is he automated his actions. He built it into a new routine. He said, this is a goal, and this is what it's going to take. It's going to take this every single day to accomplish this goal, and I'm going to work toward that goal. And then last but not least, he took action, and he went after it, and he accomplished it. And he's celebrating right now. I wish I was with him. So, pursue your goals. And number 5, which I love, is here's the beauty of a relationship with God. Pivot. Pivot if needed. You know, the great thing is when you put a plan in place and you begin to grow and you set goals and you pray about them, you know what God does sometimes? I've seen this so many times where a family has a trip that they've planned and they're planning on going in 9 months, and they have a granddaughter that all of a sudden gets accepted to a school but doesn't have the money to finish the payments. And I've watched a couple who are living one of their best seasons of life talk about together and said, I know we set this goal to be able to go on this trip, but you know what? Our granddaughter going to this school is far more important than this trip to us. And so what do you say we pivot, and what do you say we bless our granddaughter and help her to go to that school? And I've watched them with joy say, that's a better way of spending that money. And they pivoted. And the reason why is they prayed and they said, God, show us what we need to do. And God led them to be able to do that, and they love it. So pivot when needed. The bottom line is, if for those of you falling asleep, there's a reason why we fall asleep. It's because we probably follow this principle, which is this. Don't allow apathy to drive your financial plan. Don't allow apathy to be your answer. Don't continue to say, we'll figure it out, we'll figure it out, we'll figure it out. That's the enemy if I've never seen him. It'll be fine. Just keep doing what you're doing. All of us have financial goals, and we usually run from them. So let's take a moment, and let's put a plan together, and let's chase after it. Because there's a danger when we don't. Dave Ramsey coined the phrase this. He said, money is like manure left in one pile and it stinks. Spread it around and make things grow. Take action. Because Joseph advised Pharaoh, and Pharaoh listened to Joseph and trusted in God's savings plan. In Genesis 47, because he listened to that plan, watch what happened. By selling grain to the people, Joseph eventually collected all the money in Egypt and in Canaan, and he put the money in Pharaoh's treasury. All the money. And one of the most famous kingdoms to ever exist became Pharaoh's because he listened to God's savings plan. We need to live in a manner where we understand that generosity is a lifestyle, not an act. We need to give out of good, not out of guilt. We need to use money as a power tool and not let banks or credit cards take that tool away from us. And then we need to put an actual plan together to grow the resources so that God can be honored and that we can be at peace with him. Live, give, grow. I pray that whatever step you have to take, you don't say, we'll wait till next week. Would you pray with me? God, thank you so much for this practical message in this series, Lord. I know it's not a popular one. I know, Lord, money is a sore point for all of us. But God, if we're honest with ourselves, a majority of us in this room, we struggle in one or more aspects with regards to our finances. So God, I pray that today that we would tackle one area of our finances that we know we could be better at. And God, that if we do that, that you would, as you always promise to do, be faithful in honoring your commitment of saying, trust me in these things and see that I will not open the floodgates of heaven. So God, I pray that you'd bless the message, bless the word, bless each family, and may you receive the glory in Jesus' name.